This is the Patriots Drive Podcast.
We are all Patriots.
Where we discuss, analyze, and answer questions to all things happening in the NFL and with our New England Patriots. Now, here's your host, Cole Kelly.
Let's go!
Welcome into another edition of the Patriots Drive Podcast. Patriots fall to 1-2 on the season, losing to the New Orleans Saints 28-13 at home in their second home game of the year. Tough loss, a lot of thoughts on it, a lot of bad stuff to clean up. A couple good things that we'll take out of it and hopefully continue to improve and just get better this year. But tough start, 1-2 start in the year, losing both games at home. It's not ideal, but I'm here with my co-host, Jace Campbell. How's it going, Jace?
It's going good. I mean, I guess not good, but Patriots start 0-2 at home for the first time since 2000. Saw that stat today. Definitely not something that you would have expected going into the year. And both, not this game so much. That Miami game is one that was definitely winnable. This one kind of got out of hand. And we had some bad things that we'll hopefully clean up for the Bucs next week, but got a lot to get into, so.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of bad things. Definitely gonna have to clean up, but we'll take some of the good and hopefully build off it and keep that stuff rolling at least. But yeah, just tough game overall. Not one of the most frustrating games that I've watched in a long time, and that includes last year. Last year, the team wasn't what it is this year, so the expectations weren't as high. So I think some of the painful games that we watched last year weren't as tough as this game, because I think I have higher expectations for this team and feel like we can do big things.
Yeah, for sure. It's just what it comes down to is last year the expectation wasn't there. This year we feel like these are very winnable games, and when you see the offense and defense both struggle like this, and both of them had their times where they looked good. So it's not like all hope was lost and we looked horrible for 4 quarters. I thought the drive at the end of the half when New England got a field goal was very positive, with Mac Jones taking them down, and they had a couple bang, bang, bang plays. There was a couple other drives too that I thought were very positive, but consistency is what wins you games in the NFL, and there was not enough consistency on either side of the ball today.
Yeah, it was just tough game all around. I think after the first quarter and almost towards the end of the second quarter, I put out a thing on my Instagram story and just could it get any worse? And not long after that, it did get worse, and we opened up the half just horrendously. So it was just a tough game. One of those games you could tell everything that could go wrong went wrong and more, and it was just all around just a really tough game. But we'll try to take some positives away from it at least. But overall, a lot to improve on, and especially if you want to have a chance coming into week 4, Brady coming back and the Bucs coming into town.
Yeah, and some of the things that I was thinking was, there's positives in every game. It just looked few and far in between. I thought what we did very well, though, is kind of some things we talked about. I thought we put Jameis Winston in some horrible situations. We just didn't come down with the ball, or we just couldn't get the ball out. That second touchdown he throws in the back of the end zone, that's a stupid throw. I'm sorry. It's a great catch, and you can say Mac Jones was kind of like that, which when he first threw it, I was seeing the same thing, but Kendrick Bourne comes down with it and scores. But we put him in bad situations to throw the ball, and we just could not capitalize on it. And it just seems so un-Patriot-like. There were a couple times, too, where we're in the backfield, we're chasing him from behind, and we clearly needed a turnover. We needed a short field to go in and score, and we didn't get the ball out. There was one, I remember, it was Christian Barmore chasing down. I thought he could have been a little more violent ripping at the ball. And then the 2 missed field goals they have, especially the one that was towards midfield, not, capitalizing on that. And that's a big momentum swing from them. They could have went up 10-0, and it's still only 7-0. We don't get any points out of it. And then they miss another one that's like a 30-yarder. And it just seemed like the offense was stagnant at times. So there were things that I thought were good, but as a whole, the team didn't play together enough today to win this game.
Yeah, Bill always says it, and it seems cliche, but playing complementary football, the defense makes a stop, or special teams, just whatever happens, you need to play all 3 phases of the game, and you got to play them well. And that, I don't think we really played many phases, if any, well today, and just not consistently enough. Couple times the defense played. I mean, throughout the whole game, the defense played pretty solid, and then when it counts the most, they couldn't hold down the fort, and they couldn't stop them on that 3rd and 7 on that last drive where we could have got the ball back. The offense was rolling a little bit for the first time in the game, and you never know. We go down there and score that 2-point conversion. We tie that football game. That's a big momentum swing, and say we go into overtime, we got the momentum. You never know what's going to happen. So it's just a tough game overall. Horrible to start, horrible until through the 3rd quarter, and then the offense started to click a little bit and pick things up just a little bit, start to find a groove, and then defense can't hold up their end of the bargain when it really counts. And they gave us hope, and then defense it's just up and down all day, and it was just overall a really, really tough game and really frustrating.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get into our good, bad, and the injured, and let's just start off with it. Pat's Disgust says it right here.
Yeah.
Sorry, scumbag of the day, Jonnu Smith. That's the first guy on my bad list. Obviously, the huge one that comes to mind is that very first play of the second half, him dropping it. And no, it was not like a perfectly thrown ball, but that is a freaking 90% of the time you should come up with that ball. And especially you should not be juggling it, falling to the ground. He could have had a 15-yard gain if he catches it in stride and runs. It was man coverage. He beat the guy. So yeah, that's the one that comes to mind. And then there's a couple other drops too that I thought were just, Mac Jones put it on him, and he had a couple other plays that just didn't work out. So yeah, I agree. It sucks to say that because I think he will be better. It was just one of those days for Jonnu Smith and the whole offense in general.
Yeah, and I'm going to show this play right here that you were talking about. And the thing that's frustrating is, not only should he have caught it where it hit him in the hands, but also he kind of stumbled for no reason beforehand to where it slowed him down to where if he didn't do that, it would have hit him even more perfectly in the hands. And if Jonnu Smith runs that route and Mac throws in the ball and Jonnu goes like this, slaps the ball down on the ground, perfect. Okay, whatever. Obviously we want you to catch that ball, but the last thing you can do is, I'm not going to catch it. And actually, I'm going to flip it backwards towards the safety, Malcolm Jenkins, who was trailing 1.5 yards behind me where I had separation. And, now there's a lane, pick six, and boom. Just putting us deeper into a hole. That game was 14-3 at the half, right?
Yep.
14-3. Say we go down there and score a touchdown, 14-10. Even if we don't, even if we punt the ball, it's 14-3 instead of 21-3. You're digging yourself out of they continuously made more and more mistakes, and it just piled up, and you see stuff like this. And this was that route by Jonnu. Good job getting separation, getting him into space. And I don't know what he does with his feet here, but if you watch his feet, he just kind of stumbles weirdly, and then oh God, it was so frustrating. I don't know how you see this picture right here. You're like, oh, this is, easy completion, and looks like he's got space behind him as well. Okay. And then that somehow, I have no idea how, turns into that. It's just one of those days, just frustrating. Hits him in the hands. He bobbles it, flicks it up in the air to where Malcolm Jenkins has time to go catch that ball. And it's just, I don't know. It was one of those games. And just when you thought, okay, maybe coming out of the half, switch the game plan up a little bit, make some adjustments, and let's start off on firing on all cylinders. Edelman just got honored and all that stuff. He's hyping up the crowd. Energy's getting back in the building. Let's turn this around. And that happens on the very first play. It's like, it's just, kills the whole stadium, kills any hope that we felt like we might have had. And it was just, in that situation, just a huge mistake and a huge play that could have been made.
Yeah, especially they were talking about it on the broadcast too, but every time it happens, it comes into my mind where we're in that position where you go down, you get some points, and then we get the ball after time. We saw it so many times with Brady. You're starting to see it with a ton of other teams. But we went down and we go on a 6-play, 48-yard drive in 1 minute and 10. And most of the time our offense has been so stagnant that it hasn't really been getting quick drives. It's been very slowly, methodically moving down the field. But we go 6 plays, 48 yards in 1 minute and 10, and we get a field goal on the board. I'm feeling good going into half. I'm like, okay, let's get out of half. Let's go. Let's get a drive, and let's get a touchdown. And we're right in this. And as soon as I sat down, we talked about this last week. As soon as I sat down with my freaking plate of nachos, that's what I saw. And I didn't even want to eat my nachos after that. But it was just, it was a and it almost just sucked the life out of the whole stadium. Right now, it's a 14-point swing right there. Not that we would have went down and scored, but say we do. I mean, that's taken 7 off of us and given 7 to them. It was just a massive play in the game that's hard to overcome, especially when you're battling. You're at the third quarter already. So
yeah, exactly. And I mean, past discuss is right here. It looks like he's almost toe tapping, like he was slowing down to catch the ball almost, or like stumbling over his. I don't know what. I don't know what he was doing, but I've never seen someone with that much space just bobble the ball like that and flip it back to a defender for a pick six. It's just, I don't know. It's just, you can't do that. Not only, I mean, if he drops that ball, okay, he drops it. It sucks, but you'll live with it. But turning a wide open pass that could have been a 15-yard gain with run after the catch into a pick six is just, you can't have that. It's hard enough to win football games when you make easy mistakes like this one. That ball should have been caught. You drop it. Okay, that sucks. That hurts your team. But when you turn a bad play into a terrible play and into points for the other team, it just, it just kills drives, kills the game, and kills your chances of winning the football game. It's just losing the turnover battle, like we've talked about over and over again. Is if you lose the turnover battle, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up to lose football games. And when you create a turnover like that for the defense that clearly should not have been a turnover, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. And it's just extremely frustrating trying to win football games doing stuff like that, and just continuously seeing this team shoot themselves in the foot over and over again when we feel like they should be winning football games. It's simple mental errors, physical errors, just bad football. And it's frustrating because we're not used to seeing that as Patriots fans. Usually we're the most fundamentally sound team, no penalties, no turnovers. We win the turnover margin every game. And now we're seeing the script flipped a little bit with all these new faces, a rookie quarterback. It's tough. And I guess if you want to look at the bright side, okay, once they clean those things up, they should be good to go. But we've seen 3 games in, they've kind of continuously made errors like this. Not as bad in the second game, but first and third game, those could have been 2 wins, and we're shooting ourselves in the foot and just killing our chances of winning football games.
Yeah, and I forget who it was today in the post-game press conference. I want to say it was McCourty. He was asked on bringing so many new guys in, and you bring guys in from all these different places in the NFL. Everyone has a different culture. Every head coach is different. And I guarantee you there's no head coach that's like Bill Belichick. And there's no organization that's ran like the Patriots and that has been effective for the past 2 decades and stuff. So when you bring these new guys in, it's going to take a while, in my opinion, but to still not see it clicking, like through training camp, through week 1, week 2, week 3, like I want to see it start clicking here sooner than later. I am getting a little nervous that some of these guys are not clicking yet, but this is the other drop I wanted to show from Jonnu Smith right here. This is the Mac Jones one. So he's going to take a good play action fake, kind of in pressure, and then just steps and throws. And right when he throws it, you think you're like, is he just throwing it out? But that's like a
ball.
dime. That's beautiful. Like and who knows, maybe Mac Jones did not mean to throw this ball. Maybe he totally did not mean to, but whatever. Well, let's just give him the benefit of the doubt and say he did. He steps and throws this. He knows Jonnu Smith is going to be there, and he puts it right in the breadbasket. You'll see right here. And the safety does a good job. Jenkins coming back over and putting a hand on it. But it's just those things that you got to start catching in the NFL, especially when you're Jonnu Smith. He's not known for dropping too many footballs like that. In Tennessee, he was very good, sure-handed. So he had a bad day. He's, top of my bad list. I'm sure he was top of yours too. But who else do you have on your bad list?
Actually, he was second on my bad list. One thing stood out to me even more, and it was the offensive line. The entire offensive line is on my bad list, and it should be on there 4, 5, 6 times because they were absolutely horrendous all day. And this is becoming a real issue with this football team. Tried not to overreact too much. Week 1, it was bad. Week 2, it was bad. We don't have Trent Brown still. I don't know I know he has that calf injury, but he's been practicing for a week and a half now, and he's still not playing. So I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but he needs to get back ASAP. It's extremely frustrating, but just this entire offensive line was horrendous all day. Mac was on his butt almost every play. If you look at the TV and the Patriots are running a snap, odds are 95% of the time Mac Jones finished that play on his butt. He had no time, even when they gave him a pocket, it was so small he had no room to step up and make a throw. It was horrendous. It's so frustrating seeing A couple people said, oh, once McDaniels opened up the playbook more to him in the second half, he succeeded. It was like, no, he succeeded in the second half because they started to block for him. When Mac Jones had time in the pocket, our offense started to click. We started to make plays. So it's just, I mean, that was one thing that was extremely frustrating. And I do want to comment on this real quick, past discuss. McDaniels giving it to Brandon Bolden in the red zone. Yeah, especially two plays in a row, back to back, Brandon Bolden, and it just for no yards. And it just sets us up in bad field position. I mean, in 3rd and long, or it's just, I don't know. It was extremely frustrating. We had no ability to run the football behind this offensive line. Also giving it to Brandon Bolden. I don't know. It was, Mac Jones has attempted almost no throws into the end zone in the red zone. I'm not sure if that's him checking out of the plays, if that's just McDaniels calling the play in general, but it's just, there's a lot of frustrating things in this football game. The offensive line, especially to me, that was one of the most frustrating parts. It sucks to see this kid just getting beat to crap every single play, and he has no time. Can't make good throws, can't step up in the pocket. When you're getting hit constantly, that first interception, he got hit from like 3 sides, and while he's trying to throw the ball over the middle, and it floats up in the air. I wouldn't really put that interception on him. I wouldn't put the second interception on him. And that third one is kind of garbage time. The offensive line helped him not at all. Yeah, this is true as well. Mac Jones was our leading rusher. Harris got 6 carries for 14 yards. I mean, I was actually a little bit impressed, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit before, with Mac Jones' ability to step up in the pocket, move around a little bit, make some of those throws like that one you just showed to Jonnu. He kind of evaded the pocket a little bit and made that throw on the run. And then that one where he got us the first down right before he took off the knee brace and stuff, he was moving around a little bit. So that stat right there, when Mac Jones has more rushing yards than Damien Harris and there's no injury for Damien Harris, that's how you know the offensive line had a bad day.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Mac Jones stepping up and being willing to deliver the ball, knowing he was going to take a hit. Because I thought if I could give a good to the Saints, it would probably be Sean Payton getting Alvin Kamara back involved, like we talked about. But 2, the game plan on a rookie quarterback, they out Belichick almost, where they didn't make him look uncomfortable, but they were getting pressure to him. And yes, that's on the offensive line. So that's a great, bad category that you have right there. But they were getting pressure to him, and Mac Jones just stood in there and delivered them. And that's why you see a little bit lower completion percentage. You see him at 58.8% today, instead of the 70 plus that he's been at the last couple of weeks. But it was rough to see our rookie quarterback get in there and get hit, and not even get hit a lot, but have to deliver with such tight pockets. I thought he still did a good job doing that. But going off of the Damien Harris thing, yeah, we carried the ball 17 times, rushed it 17 times out of our 70 total ran plays. And I felt like New England was trying to set up a lot of play actions. I felt like a lot of Mac Jones's passes were off of play action fakes. And when you're not running the ball effectively like we were today, play actions don't really work. So that for me is bad. I know we've talked about this and I didn't want to overreact on it, but I think I am kind of getting to the point where I agree with some Pats fans is I don't necessarily love the play calling. I don't disagree with it, but there are some problems that I have had with it, especially in the red zone, giving the ball to Bolden twice. If you're going to give it to a running back, give it to Damien Harris at least, or do a fly sweep or something. Don't just say, hey, this is Brandon Bolden, our special teams guy that we have for the minimum or whatever we have him on, and we're going to give him the ball 2 times in the red zone. Like, no, Mac Jones got you down there, drove the field, and then we're just going to stall in the red zone. That's where part of our red zone scoring is the frustrations is coming from. I think a little too conservative in the play calling in the red zone. But yeah, I agree. The defensive line, the other one that I had in my bad category, unless you have anything else to add about the offensive line, but mine was, and you never see this from the Patriots, so it almost shocked me when it happened, but is the blocked punt. You almost never see this from the Patriots, this happening to the Patriots. You usually see them blocking punts and dominating the special teams battle, but you just see pressure come right up the gut, and it almost looks like it was Brandon Bolden again right here too, or it was Kyle Duggar right here at the edge, and he falls for an outside move, gets taken back inside, and then the punt just gets blocked. And that's a big play right there. It's 7-0. We could pin them within their own 20, maybe their own 10 with the type of leg Jake Bailey has. And that was a huge turn in the game. Also, I'm pretty sure they go down to score, or maybe that's the drive they missed their field goal on. But still, getting a punt blocked is what we call a game breaker on our special teams unit. It's something that changes total momentum. And I felt like that was something that's uncharacteristic of the Patriots, uncharacteristic, especially at home, as the Saints came in and kind of did things that we usually do great, but they did it great today.
And that's kind of what we've been talking about. It's just uncharacteristic. Just this isn't Patriots football. The brand of football they're playing, they're not playing complementary football. They're not playing well in all three phases. They're making mental errors, losing the turnover battle. Special teams, like we talked about, just to build on that special teams a little bit. Like you said, that punt by Jake Bailey, I had special teams on my bad in general as well, just because not only that block punt by Jake Bailey, but allowing a 25, 30-yard return by their punt returner, I think our first punt, allowing that type of return, where all week Belichick was talking about how talented this guy was, and Slater talked about it. Jake Bailey talked about it. They all touched on how talented this guy was, and they're going to have to limit the amount of space that he has and try to limit the return yards he has. And just the first punt we have lets him get 25, 30 yards. That was bad. Jake Bailey also kicked another ball out of bounds, which is the second one in 3 games.
Yep.
It's just constantly giving the other team extra yards, easier. When you start at the 20, 25 instead of, and then you start at the 40, that's 15, 20 yards. You're handing to the team saying, all right, here you go. Now all you need is 20 yards for a field goal. It's just constantly making mental and physical mistakes that just isn't the Patriots brand of football. So I thought special teams was just bad in general.
Yeah, that's really, there was a lot of other bad in there. I think that those are the ones that stood out. I don't think Mac Jones necessarily played horrible, and we'll get into this once we start talking about the quarterbacks, but I think the circumstances put around him, he actually played pretty good. So I'd put the whole offense in general in that category, outside of a couple guys. But when you only have 3 guys being productive, and one of them's your quarterback, and maybe 2 receivers are being productive, and Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby Myers, it's hard to win a football game in the NFL. So I'd put the whole offense in general on that list, just for their struggles and continuing third down. Their third down conversion percentage was not very good. Like we talked about, it was 7 of 19. Just under 50% again. And red zone touchdowns were not good either, getting field goals there, but you can't win with field goals. It's such a bummer to watch Mac Jones and the offense go boom, 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 right down the field. And then we run 2 plays to Brandon Bolden, and then we settle for a field goal. So, and also that's the other thing too, is the Saints were in the red zone 4 times, and they got points 3 out of the 4 times, with the only one of it being that chip shot field goal they missed. So things on both sides in the red zone that continue to struggle for the Patriots.
Yeah, my last one on the bad list, I don't know if you have any more, but just defensive clutch gene in general. This is one thing. The defense, honestly, if you look at it, the defense played a great game other than a couple key mistakes. But you can play a great game for 3.5 quarters. But when the money's on the line and you have to make a stop, Miami, we couldn't do it against Miami. And now again, against the Saints. If they get that stop on 3rd and 7, they're hyping up the crowd. The entire stadium's on their feet, yelling, screaming, and you allow a soft 11, 10-yard catch for a first down, and they're moving the chains. And that if we get that ball back, they have to punt it. We have momentum. We might turn this game around. We might tie it up. We have a chance to tie the game in the 4th quarter. And it was really disappointing to see that defense just look deflated. They ran the ball down their throat the entire drive. I don't understand. Against Miami, had to have it. Even when Miami had a penalty and they were backed up closer to the goal line, we couldn't take advantage of that. We let up a slant route for a first down to Devontae Parker. Then this game, we know they're running the ball every play. Taysom Hill, every time he gets in the backfield in that like wildcat kind of formation almost, he ran the ball to the right almost every time except that one play where they did the fake. But if you account for that one guy, you can run commit basically everybody else. You know what they're doing, and we still couldn't stop it. So seeing, this defense has the potential to be elite, but I can't call this defense an elite group of players until they can put it together when it matters most. You can do it 3.5 quarters. If you can't do it the full 4 quarters, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was frustrating to see the lack of, I think not having Uche there too. I don't want to say the lack of pass rush because I think we got to him good. Judon had 2.5 sacks. We had a couple other sacks on the defensive side of the ball, and we forced him into bad situations. But not having a consistent pass rush, it seemed like the times we needed a pass rush, like you mentioned, the 3rd down, and it's not just like one player. Like it wasn't just Jalen Mills on that 3rd and 9 where they had to come back on the final drive. It's like James Winston could have stood in there for 8 seconds and he probably might not have gotten touched. So there was a lack of pass rush on those big plays. Also, we had it at other times on other 3rd downs, but the significance of having a sack on a 3rd and 7 in the middle of the game, it's still good. But when you're like needing a play, you gotta have some of these guys like chomping at the bit, like, okay, I'm gonna get home. Like I'm ready. I'm gonna beat this guy 1-on-1. He can't block me. We didn't have that. And now those 2 drives that you think of in the Miami game and in this game where the defense had to step up, and usually they do. Usually you're like, okay, defense, like this is what we paid all you guys the money for. This is what you're known for. They just haven't shown up. And so, yeah, I like that point on the clutch G not being there for the defense.
And then on that 3rd down and 7, when we've got to Jameis a decent amount that game, 3rd down and 7, got to have it. Jameis has been struggling when we put pressure on him. We rush 4, get no pressure. Jameis has all the time in the world, sits back there. Those are the first downs. It's just, I don't know. There was a lot of frustrating play calls early in the game. We were playing the softest zone coverage I've ever seen in my life and just letting them pick apart the defense. It's like, put some pressure on these guys, play some man coverage. This is what the Patriots do. And maybe switching things up so that they don't know what to expect. But when you continuously are getting beat by the same thing, playing the same zone coverage, and they're just tearing you apart, how about you try switching it up and play the Patriots brand of football? Man coverage, put pressure, run different coverage schemes and switch things up, spin the dial, all that stuff. But when you're continuously dropping back, playing soft zone, and he's throwing it to receivers with 3 yards of separation, I mean, you're just letting them pick apart the defense. So it was frustrating. I think they didn't have a lot of receiver talent. We focused a lot on stopping Alvin Kamara, and we did a good job for the most part, except a few plays and then late in the game. But I felt like we could have really had success manning up on this team and just stopping the run. And it was frustrating. Overall defense did good, but a few key mistakes, and that got to have it drive. They just were no shows. So it was frustrating.
How about that 3rd and 1 where we're showing pressure and JC Jackson's 8 yards off the ball and they just throw a little, it's a 1 yard slant and it's an easy 3 yard game, but heck, that moves the chains. That's a first down. Yeah. That one to me, I'm like, I just don't know if it's a game plan thing or if it is the corners not being confident or aggressive enough. But yeah, I like what Pat Siska said here. This is one team, they're missing their best receiver. Their best receiver is probably their running back out of the backfield. And even then you can chip him with a linebacker as he's getting out, or by the time he's, 10 yards down the field, you should have a pass rush to him unless he lines up out there. So yeah, we didn't lock him up good enough. We seem to get diced by a couple receivers for him that I was just like, come on, JC Jackson should be holding him up. I thought Jonathan Jones would be able to keep up with some of them too, but there wasn't a true wide receiver 1 out there. And for some reason, we still struggled playing man coverage.
I mean, I know we don't have Stephon Gilmore, but this team, there's no reason that we could not have had success manning up on this team. Who do they have for weapons around him that you're scared about? Michael Thomas is out. You have Alvin Kamara to worry about, and that's basically it. And I don't know. I agree with Pat Gus here as well. I thought this was a great team to play man coverage against and to man up against because we have the talent to do it. JC Jackson, Jonathan Jones, even Jalen Mills, I feel like could have success against this type of team. It's not, they don't have a lot of talent. And now we're going up week 4 against the Bucs and we're playing Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, AB, Scotty Miller, Gronk, all these guys. And that I can understand. Okay, maybe we don't trust all our corners one-on-one with these guys. You know what I mean? I understand that. But against this Saints offense with not a lot of talent besides Alvin Kamara, the game plan didn't make sense to me start to finish. It's especially so like in the red zone, like we talked about. The entire game plan is stop Alvin Kamara, you stop the Saints. And in the red zone, Kyle Van Noy looks like he's manned up on Kamara. He runs one of those Texas routes or whatever, and just nobody's on him. It's just like, okay, the only guy you have to worry about, Alvin Kamara, somehow nobody's guarding him. It was just, I don't know, frustrating game, stuff like that. Like you talked about that Jameis throw where he just lobs it up, idiotic throw. That's just peak Jameis right there in the red zone, throwing that up like that. It's just a insanely stupid play, and we can't capitalize on that. And we had a holding call anyways that even if we picked that ball off, they get the ball inside the 5, first and goal, another chance. So it's frustrating. And a lot of the things that we struggled with against the Saints team are things we're going to struggle with this Bucs team. Consider us 1-3. The Bucs have a better defensive line, better linebackers, better secondary, and can get pressure on quarterbacks more consistently and stop the run extremely well. That's a lot of the things the Saints did, and we struggled at an extreme level. So we better hope Trent Brown comes back healthy, comes back quick, and this offensive line fixes things very quickly, or this week 4 game is going to be extremely ugly against Brady and the Bucs.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be very bad if we don't get some of these guys healthy. Trent Brown being the main one. We'll get into some of the other injured, but let's get into our good players first. Who do you have as one of your goods?
I have Kendrick Bourne as my first good. I thought he was one thing that we could really count on throughout this game. He made some big plays. That one that Matt kind of threw up to him, he made a great play on that. I'll find that clip in a second. But yeah, Kendrick Bourne overall, he was good. We have a graphic for his stats. Yeah, 6 receptions, 98 yards, and a touchdown. He was solid. He made a few big plays. One before the half, he created after the catch. He was solid. He was our most consistent receiver today. Him and Jacoby Myers both. So he was the first guy I had on my list. I thought he made some nice plays, and he wasn't necessarily expected to. He wasn't a big part of the game plan the first couple of weeks, but he consistently has made some plays and created after the catch. But every time he makes a play, the offensive line holds and it gets called back. It's kind of been a frustrating start for him, but it was good to see him make a few plays and kind of get involved and build some confidence going into week 4.
Yeah, I liked Kendrick Bourne's effort. The other one, obviously, that just always plays consistent in that receiver room was Jacoby Myers. We have his graphic up right here. 9 receptions, 94 yards. Those are good numbers for 2 receivers. It's just we couldn't do it consistently. Like if you were to show me that graphic right now before the game and say this is what Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby Myers did, I'd be like, there's no way we lost 28-13, right? Like the stats and stuff. I feel like the stats, and when you deep dive into the game, it should have been a lot closer than what the box score and the actual scoreboard said.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is that play by Kendrick Bourne right here. I mean, Mac immediately pressure in his face. I don't know what Haran was doing there. He just let Cam Jordan run right by him. I don't know if this was the original play call, but just watch Cam Jordan right here and Haran. It looks like he doesn't even touch him. I don't know what. What are you doing? And then we throw it up to KB. He makes a great play. Mosses the DB and keeps his feet in. That was great balance on the sideline too. Keeping his feet in and then stretching that out for a touchdown. That was good. So I thought he had a few good plays. I'll show another one here in a minute. But yeah, it was good to see these receivers get involved. And I figured it was going to be a tough game running the ball. Tough day to run the ball against this run defense. But Cam Jordan just beats him there. Kendrick Bourne looks back and the ball's right there, and he jumps up, catches it, and good balance, stays in for the touchdown. But I thought he had a good day, and it was good to see him get going a little bit.
Yeah, it's good to see him get going. I want to see Nelson Aguilar have one of his big days also that we saw him do in Vegas last year, where he catches a 60-yard touchdown, and there were at least attempts to throw the ball downfield. Now, none of them were really, really close. I think Nelson Aguilar had one where he dives in the end zone, and it was great effort. But yeah, they're at least trying to get the ball downfield to Aguilar, and that's what I want to see him have a big day like we saw Kendrick Bourne today.
Yeah, nice snag there. Just easy slant route, but breaks a couple tackles and gets some momentum when we really had none. Down 14 zip. He made some plays for us today, and it was good to see. Aguilar had a couple catches, but he wasn't great overall. Yeah, it was good to see us push the ball down the field a little bit, but that kind of shows you, yeah, okay, first 2 games, we didn't push the ball down the field a lot, only when it was kind of open. Okay, this game, we open it up a little bit, try to throw some of those balls, and sometimes it's just a waste of play. If he's not open, he's not open. Don't throw him the ball. But I thought most all the deep balls that Mac threw were good, and they were placed in a spot where, yes, he had a couple overthrows. I did think a couple of those calls, I thought Nelson Aguilar got pulled back a little bit on a couple of them, but he put that ball where it's either, hey, receiver gets it or nobody gets it. He's not underthrowing it where it's going to get picked off. If he overthrows it, okay, it's incomplete. Just don't underthrow it and have the DB have a chance to get that pick. So, yeah, it was good to see these guys. Good to see these guys make some plays. Jacoby and Kendrick Bourne, for the most part, they really stood out. Jacoby Myers has been great. He, like you said, just Mr. Consistent. Every game seems like he's getting involved, making plays, making catches, and he's a guy that I think Mac is really going to be able to look to when it's in a big moment and stuff like that. But who was the next player you had on your list?
So I had a lot of goods on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne on the offensive side of the ball there. But for me, defensively, the one that stood out to me the most today was Devon Godzill. I thought he played very well on the interior. And most of the times when we got gashed by the Saints, it was with that Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara little outside run game too. And there was one inside where Taysom Hill hurdled McCourty and Kyle Van Noy tackled him. But I really felt like our interior run defense was pretty stout today. They only had they had 142 rushing yards, so it's not going to say that, but it was on 38 attempts. Like we're holding them to 3.7 yards a carry. That's not great. Anytime you can be under 4 yards a carry, it's good, because if you think about it, we've talked about this before. If you keep getting 4 yards every play, you're going to move the sticks no matter what. So it's close to that 4 yard mark, so it's not great. But I thought Godzill made some pretty good plays. This is the one that really jumped out to me, and it was on the first drive, and then he kept showing up, and he had a QB hurry later in the game. But this one, Alvin Kamara is going to run stretch to the left, and you're going to see Godzill on the double team right here, and then just get out and almost like longest yard, like one hand tackle him, freaking up around the neck. It was a big boy play, in my opinion, where he gets off the block right there, comes off, and just stuns him in his tracks. So it's good seeing both him and other guys. Christian Barmore had a couple good pressures. I'll show a clip of him in a minute with one of his pressures, because I thought he did some good things. Not notably like the whole game, but he had just those consistent pass rush plays where he continues to win and getting close to sacks. He's not executing them, but Godzill was one that I thought was on my good list on the defensive side.
I had him on my good list as well. I thought especially early on, I didn't see him as much late, but early on he was making he had a little series there, a little stretch there. He made a few different plays in a short span. So I thought he was on my good list as well. I thought he had a good game. We definitely needed him to step up, especially, they have their backup center in. They had Cesar Ruiz in because their starter was hurt. So backup center, it was good to see Godzill make a few plays in the run game. And another guy I had on that defense side of the ball who, he wasn't necessarily great today, but overall, we've talked about him a little bit. He stood out to me. The improvement he's made from last year to this year is Juwan Bentley. He's been so much better this year than he was last year. Last year, he was a train wreck, and it was tough to watch with him on the football field. But he has been consistently shooting the gaps, making plays in the backfield, doing different stuff. He's not great in coverage, obviously, but his ability to play in the run game and shoot the gaps and just create havoc has been great to see. It's something that I think we really needed this year, and I think having Hightower back and some of these other linebackers, these veteran linebackers, is great for him to have, and it's just more faces in the room to give him advice and give him tips and tricks on what he can do to improve and be better. And I think he's really taken all that advice, and he's improved a lot. I've been extremely impressed with what I've seen from him so far. Like you said, Godzill was good as well. Bentley, I thought, was really good. It's just good to see a guy make a jump from last year to this year that significantly, where I felt like it was tough watching him on the football field last year, and this year he's made plays. So it's good to see him stand out a little bit.
Yeah, and someone mentioned it in a couple weeks ago is on the coaching staff is they said Juwan Bentley has slimmed down a little. He's lost a little weight. And I think you see that he's moving better. He's still a thumper. Like he's still coming downhill and there's a play where he comes down and hits Cesar Ruiz, their center, and just snaps his neck back because he hits him so hard and then drives him back. And he doesn't make the play, but he plugs his gap. And I saw Bentley have that one too, where Jameis Winston throws it into triple coverage and he almost picks it. And Troutman, the tight end, almost pins it on his hip and it bounces up. And there was an opportunity for Adrian Phillips to at least catch it off the deflection. So Juwan Bentley's one. Another second year or another guy that's kind of been there that we've have had those expectations for, but hasn't really lived up to him, I thought, was Dietrich Wise. I thought he had a good game. He had half a sack. He had 5 tackles, a couple TFLs. And then it's hard not to mention Judon with his 2.5 sacks. Just Matt Judon being consistent there, getting 2.5 sacks, big plays, had a couple TFLs also. So those 3 guys on the defensive front really impressed me.
Yeah, Judon was my last guy on the defense side of the ball. I thought he was good again. He's fighting that injury clearly. You saw one person tweeted out that he was heading back to the locker room, and then I posted that, and then right after that, he turned around and apparently he came back, and then he was back in the game not long after that. So I'm not really sure what that was about. Seems like he's battling that knee a little bit, but it was good to see him making plays. And I wish on that 3rd down and 7, even though we only rushed 4, I wish he could have got around there and created a little more pressure, because I think he was probably just tired after the first 2 plays he was involved. And it's just tough to see the defense play so well at some points of this game and show flashes of being an elite defense. And then when all the chips are on the table, they just haven't been able to get it done. But I thought Judon again had another great game. Seems like a home run signing. He's been a guy that's consistently stood out and has been a problem for opposing offenses almost every game. So I'm excited to see him continue to hopefully get healthy and continue to develop with this defense. And once they continue to build chemistry, it's gonna come together. I know it's frustrating. It's gonna take time, but you think about it, this roster has had so much turnover from last year to this year. It's insane. So it's just gonna take some time on both sides of the ball. But I'm confident they're gonna get it together. It's just hopefully it's not too late to make the playoffs by the time we figure things out, because until then it's gonna be a little tough stretch. But my last guy I had on the good list, Nick Folk. I mean, He wasn't necessarily outstanding by any means, but he did his job. He made his 2 field goals and the extra point. He did what he was supposed to do. So I had to throw him on the good list.
Yeah, Nick Folk just being there consistent. The first field goal he made where he squeaked it in on the up bar, I thought was a little high snap. Jake Bailey does a good job catching it and getting it down.
Yeah, bad snap.
I thought that it was that his streak was in jeopardy right there when it left his foot. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be close. So yeah, Nick Folk, as long as he's in there hitting field goals, and at least we're coming away with points. Like if you want to have a takeaway from our red zone, like when we're getting in the red zone, we're coming away with points. But consistently, you got to have 60%, if not more, touchdowns when you're in the red zone. You can't be kicking a field goal 60% of the time. You got to start getting 7 points instead of 3 points. That's a big difference in the NFL. So yeah, Nick Folk continuing to hit those. So he was definitely on my good list too.
Last clip I want to show real quick. I think this is the last clip. Just Mac Jones' athleticism a little bit. He's not a statue. He's not Lamar Jackson, obviously, but he can move around a little bit and he can create when he needs to. So
yeah.
Start over. Tucks it. Pressure's kind of getting to him. Evades the rush a little bit, and then, I mean, he's not flying, but if you kind of look at the cornerback, Mac running compared to the corner, it's not bad. It's a lot faster than I expected him to be from everything I heard of him being a statue, has no mobility, but he's running, decent speed for a guy who's supposedly a statue in this draft.
I mean, he ran a 4.79 40 when he was at Alabama's pro day. So
everybody said, "Oh, it's Alabama. It's their pro day, so he's gonna run the fastest clock time." You know what I mean?
I'd like to go see what people would run at Alabama's pro day. They'd be getting 5.7s, and Mac Jones is real fast.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, okay, he is fast."
Yeah.
No, but it's good to see that he's not a statue. He can move around a little bit. He's made throws on the run multiple times throughout these first 3 games. And they've been accurate. He's been able to throw on the run accurately pretty consistently so far when he's needed to. And his ability to move around the pocket, evade that pressure. We've seen him do it a few times. We saw him do it in preseason, but it got called back for holding. So it was good to see him kind of show off that mobility a little bit and then throw a touchdown pass after this run, after he throws off that brace.
Yeah.
1 for 1, 22 yards and a touchdown. So he's got to keep
that
brace off. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about quarterbacks. So before we get into the injured, let's just hit on the quarterback stats here. Mac Jones, 30 for 52, 270 yards, a touchdown, 3 interceptions. Like I said, I feel like that stat line is it looks a lot worse than what it actually was. With the pockets collapsing and him not having a lot of time to throw the ball. He gets hit on the one, that's the pick, and then the bad Jonnu Smith drop is the other pick, and then the garbage time one. And then Jameis Winston, 13 for 21, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns, kind of similar to what he did against Green Bay week 1. Not a lot of passing yards, finds those 2 touchdowns, very low completion, or very low completions and attempts. So that's the thing is, I love Mac Jones and I'm very confident in him. I hate seeing him throw the ball 50 plus times. I want to get our run game more involved. And I mentioned it already, with us having so much play action and 2 tight end sets, you have to have the run game going. I felt like we were doing so much play action. The linebackers almost weren't falling for the run game. They're almost like, yeah, I'm going to sit back and play these tight ends on the flat routes or on the crossing routes. And I'm going to make you throw it make you run it because you guys can't. So the running game was disappointing, but I felt like Mac Jones played better than what these stats show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can only do so much. I mean, if you go back and watch that game and watch every pass play, every time Mac dropped back to pass, you're seeing constant pressure in his face the entire first half, even first 3 quarters probably. And as soon as that pressure starts to fade a little bit and we start to block things up, all of a sudden Mac Jones is doing a lot better. It's when you have no run. I mean, we talked about it last episode, I believe, a little bit. When the team makes you one-dimensional, it makes it so much harder to have success. They knew we had no success running the football. So, okay, if they can't run the football, they're going to pass the football. We're going to bring pressure. We're going to attack Mac Jones. This offensive line can't do anything against us. They can't stop us. We're just going to keep getting pressure, hit Mac every single play, and it's going to break him down. And that's what they did. They just, I mean, I honestly was extremely impressed with the kid. His toughness, his first year in the league, 3rd game as a rookie quarterback, him taking an absolute beating. He's taken a beating all 3 games, and he's continued to just get right back up and fight. And it's good to see out of the kid. You see the respect he's gaining in the locker room from his wide receivers, tight ends, offensive linemen, everybody. They see him getting continuously pummeled back there, and he's getting right back up, and he's fighting for this team. I can't remember. I think it was Jacoby who said it. He said, Mac Jones, 10 seconds left in the game, and he's still trying to get everybody together, get everybody pumped up. Let's go. Come on. Like, we still have a chance to win this football game. And that's what you like to see as a guy. I mean, a young quarterback, fight until the very end. Doesn't matter. I thought the stat line looks really bad. 3 interceptions. I'd put that last one on him, but there was no time left in the game. I think it was 4th down, and he threw it up to try to get a 4th down and close to the end zone with no time left. So none of his interceptions were really true interceptions. It wasn't like he made a stupid throw. I didn't see, and none of his interceptions were stupid throws that I thought, oh yeah, that deserved to be picked. All of them were tipped up in the air, or he got absolutely pummeled by 3 defensive linemen while he's throwing, and it gets popped up in the air a little bit. Mac Jones did not play nearly as bad as the stat line says, and he still didn't do too bad. 270 and a touchdown. He threw the ball 52 times. I mean, we talked about it when we were doing our predictions a little bit, and I kind of thought this would be a game where we'd have to throw the ball quite a bit because the run game was going to be bad, and it was not good. It's just tough. It's tough for a kid when you got no time. You're not doing him any favors. We talked about the biggest thing for a rookie quarterback to have is a great offensive line, and that was something that we talked about. Oh, Mac Jones is in the best situation because he's got a great offensive line and he's got some weapons. Okay, well, that great offensive line has been horrible so far. Hasn't been consistent at all. We don't have the full pieces yet, so I'm trying not to judge it too harshly, but I'm getting real frustrated seeing us get consistently dominated at the line of scrimmage, them pushing us back, us having no rushing lanes, us having no time in the pocket to throw the football. Mac is just getting destroyed. It's tough. You hate to see your rookie quarterback on his back that often in a game because, I mean, those hits add up quick. And even though he's young, they're going to add up. And it's hard. It's going to be hard for him to finish the season if he continuously gets hit like this.
Yeah, they hit him 11 times and 2 sacks, obviously. So that's a lot. A lot of times he's getting hit, and it is scary, but I think that he's a very tough kid. So that gives me he's encouraging. He's not shying away. He's still stepping up. I know we've mentioned this, but he's still stepping up. He's still trying to throw the ball, and he's competing even when we're down in games late and, it's out of reach. He's competing. He's trying to move us up and down the field, trying to get one last touchdown. So, yeah, I was impressed with Mac. I don't think this stat line really shows. And obviously what it comes down to is the win. And so that's what he's going to be judged on. But I felt like he is still playing good enough for us to win if we clean up these other things.
And Drew Brees mentioned it in the post-game show. He was like, I was actually pretty impressed with Mac Jones. Even this game, he's like, he stayed extremely poised. He was getting hit in the pocket a ton. He was making the right throws, didn't make any stupid throws, throwing it to the right guy when he's supposed to, on time, accurate, all that stuff. He's doing a great job as a rookie quarterback. Even this game where he had 3 picks, they weren't really on him. He had no time. He wasn't getting much help from anybody. Receivers weren't consistently getting open in time because the offensive line wasn't holding up long enough for anything to happen. I also think not having Trent Brown, you saw a lot of the time Jonnu Smith or Hunter Henry having to chip Cam Jordan while the tackle steps back and gets ready to protect against him. So I think the game plan had to be adjusted knowing Trent Brown wasn't in there and we had a backup and he was going to need help on Cam Jordan to where the tight ends couldn't get as involved. And when they're chipping at the line and that's slowing them down, it takes even longer for the routes to develop. And if the offensive line isn't giving them enough time, it's just they can't get open. They can't get targets. It's just overall, it was just, I think the offensive line, if they played well today, I think this would have been a completely different ball game.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get into our running back stats now too. Obviously, running game, very disappointing. 17 total carries by everyone. 6 of them were from Mac Jones. He was the leading rusher, but Damian Harris, 6 carries, 14 yards, 2 receptions for -3 yards. And then Alvin Kamara kind of doing, what we thought. They got him involved. They get him 27 total touches, 24 carries, 89 yards on the ground, and then 3 receptions, 29 yards, and then that first touchdown for them. So obviously outgained, outclassed in the running back and rushing statistic this week. But what were your thoughts and the biggest takeaways?
What would you say if I told you 2 years ago after a loss like this that Tom Brady was our leading rusher?
Yeah, I
I mean, just speechless.
Yeah, right.
I mean? That's how I feel right now. It just when Mac Jones out rushes Damian Harris and everybody else on our team, I don't know. It was that type of day. The offensive line was bad. I can't stress that enough. If that gets cleaned up and they start to fix things and Trent Brown gets healthy, I think this team is going to look completely different. That's what gives me some hope. It's so frustrating to see the consistent mental errors, physical errors, like we talked about, not playing well in all 3 phases. But that has been the thing that this team has done so well for so many years, and that's won them football games. So if they can start to clean that up, it gives me confidence. The offensive line, the defensive line, the run stopping ability, and the clutch gene in the fourth quarter, if they can just play a full 4 quarters of good complementary football, this team is going to be in almost every game they play. And it's going to be a matter of, hey, defense gets a turnover and offense doesn't turn the ball over, gives us a chance to win football games. So I think this team is going to be good. It's a lot of new pieces. I know I'm saying don't be frustrated, be patient, but I was extremely frustrated and I was very impatient today as well watching this football team. It's frustrating because you're living in the moment, but you look at the big picture. We have a lot of young talent on this team. We got a great young quarterback who I think at this point we can say this kid's our future. We have a quarterback who's going to be the future for us on a cheap contract for the next 4 or 5 years. That's great news. We got a lot of talent on this football team. On paper, this team is great. You saw the Bucs struggle immensely last year until late in the season. They started to put it together. And that was just replacing a quarterback. We have a new quarterback, new tight ends, new wide receivers, new defensive edge players, linebackers. We're getting different guys back, different guys in the secondary. It's a completely different roster. It's going to take some time for them to develop these traits that the Patriots have had for so long, really understand the playbook, open things up. It's just going to take time. We just got to be patient. I just hope that it's not too late by the time we figure things out, because this was kind of going into week 4, week 5. I'd say at the halfway point of the season, week 8, I expected us to have won 5, 6 games maybe if we're having a good year. And at this point, it looks like we're going to start off 1-3, and then we got a game against the Texans, hopefully 2-3, and then a game against the Cowboys, which is not. I think it's not going to be an easy game either with kind of the weapons they have. So it's going to take time, going to take patience, but it's frustrating. Our running backs were non-existent. Alvin Kamara was the one guy we had to stop this game, and did it well for the first part of the game, but just key moments couldn't do it.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about the rushing attack. It was just non-existent, something that they need to figure out, and they need to be committed and stay committed to it, because, I mean, if you look at the 24 for 89 by Kamara, yeah, that's good, but that's only like 2.8 yards per carry, I'm pretty sure. Not like a ton.
He averaged, let's see, 24, 3.7 yards a carry.
3.7. Oh yeah, sorry. I just mentioned that already. But like, they were just committed to it. Like, there were times early in the game where he's not like gashing us, but they're committed to it, right? They're committed to getting into third and shorts. They're committed into setting up their rushing or their passing game and passing attack, play action stuff. I still feel like New England was like that today. They weren't committed. They were trying to do play actions without having it set up and being effective. But that brings us into our last thing. Speaking of the running backs spot, the good, bad, and the injured. Obviously, we'll go back to that injury. Really, the only one I can think of in the game was James White, sadly. And then obviously a scratch early in the game, Josh Uche. That was a little surprising. But what were your thoughts on James White? Obviously, heartbreaking, captain of the team. Everyone went over, gives him high fives, says their goodbyes to him as he's getting carted off, and give him good luck. But have you heard anything on that yet, or have any updates?
No, I haven't seen anything at all, and it's just heartbreaking. I hope he's not out long, because he's been such a staple of this team for so long, and he's been one of our most effective playmakers. This year so far, he's been consistent each game. So I hope it's not for too long. I hope he's okay. Hopefully it's nothing serious. But whenever a guy gets carted off like that, and then you see he's immediately James White is out for the game, that's never a good sign. It was weird. It didn't look like anything. It didn't look like I don't know how he got injured, but it looked like maybe his knee kind of hit the ground hard, and with the linebacker on his back, it kind of did something to his hip. I don't know. It looked like he grabbed his hip immediately and then got carted off. So that's never good to see. This guy, Mac, has talked about how much he's helped him in the huddle and during practices, all this stuff, learning the offense, figuring things out. So I don't know. It's tough. You hate to see a guy like that. James White is a guy who never deserves to get hurt. He's such a good dude, and you hate to see that. You hate to see any injuries for any players, but especially a guy who's, the year he had last year, how tough it was on him, and you were looking for a bounce back year, and it looked like he was going to have that, and then seeing him have an injury, hopefully not too serious, but you never know. It could be a season ending injury, could be a couple week injury, but when he gets carted off and gets ruled out that quickly, it seems like he's probably going to be placed on IR at some point.
Yeah, which makes our running back room a little thin. JJ Taylor didn't get too many opportunities, didn't look too great today, but he's just such a sure-handed back out of the backfield, one of the best in the leagues. And making people miss an open space. And we really do have our own little game plan around him at times where it makes life easy for Mac Jones and the offense to get, things. I'm looking at this Sunday Night Football graphic right now. It's the return, Brady and Belichick. That's what it is right now. And that's what the topic will be now that everyone is off of this Saints game. It's officially the return of Brady coming back to Foxborough. And it's not looking good for New England. I still hope that they can figure it out and give them a game and at least look competitive, because right now I guarantee they're not favored, but right now you want
they're 5.5 point underdogs at home.
You just
All right.
want to be competitive, right? You want to show teams and show yourself that you can compete with the Super Bowl champ and a team that is one of the best in the league right now. So the other thing that will be a huge storyline is Brady's like 100 and something pass yards off of the all-time
67.
record. 67. So he's
he's
close.
definitely getting that. I mean,
He'll get it in New
yeah.
England, right?
Unless we hold him to under 67 passing yard. Can you imagine? Yeah,
Is
there's
Gilmore
no
coming
chance.
off? Surprise early exit that the
They
NFL
changed the
lets.
rule.
Yes,
Yeah.
then he holds them to 67. So a lot of storylines for this week. We'll be back on Wednesday with the pregame show. Have more news about the injury to James White, the Uche injury, the other injuries, and then a pregame episode. So
real quick, we kind of touched on it when this trade first happened, but that James White injury, Ramondre Stevenson struggling as a rookie, that's what makes you question. I mean, that's why we were hesitant a little bit when we traded away Sony Michel. We got decent value for him, and he was going to leave at the end of the year anyways, but that's what makes you question, hey, if we had a guy like Sony Michel there, maybe we can ease up on Damian Harris a little bit. Maybe that's why he fumbled at the end of that game. He was tired. He wasn't used to getting that many carries in a game. Maybe his ball security wasn't as good because he was gassed. So maybe if we would have had Sony Michel take some of those touches away, James White gets hurt, Ramondre Stevenson fumbles, all that stuff. Maybe we have Sony Michel. He looked a little bit better as a pass catching back this year than he did last year. Just a lot of those things. Just got another guy who knows the offense well. It's just tough. So yeah, I just looking back on that, it's one of those things where we said hopefully we don't miss him, but it seems like we might be missing him a little bit so far.
for sure. Well, we'll be back on Wednesday. Make sure you tune in for that big pregame episode for the return of Brady. But other than that, Cole, you got anything else?
Yeah, the only thing, if New England fans' hearts weren't broken enough this weekend, Red Sox are currently losing 6-3 to the Yankees in the bottom of the ninth, about to get swept, about to go to second place in the wild card, game behind the Yankees with only a week and a half left. So if today wasn't painful enough, past two games lost heartbreakers to the Yankees, and we're about to lose again. So that's exciting. Great day of sports in Boston. Great day of sports in New England today. It was a really fun day. Fun day to be a Boston sports fan.
That's sounds about right with sports, right? You're gonna have highs and you're gonna have lows. So
yeah, this so frustrating. I hope if the Pats season is half as frustrating as this, I'll be happy, because I mean this Red Sox season has been so frustrating. But
yeah.
All right, back to football. Anyways, we'll have a episode Wednesday previewing the Bucks Pats matchup. I mean, big matchup. Obviously, we'll have some film to go over. I don't know how many highlights we'll have to show, but I'm sure we'll have plenty of bads to pick out and show you guys what went wrong in this game versus Saints. So we'll show some tape of that, and we'll be moving on to the Bucks and Tom Brady hosting them at Gillette. Never thought that was something I'd say, but that's the world we're living in now. Brady's gone, new regime has come in, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully we can keep the game close, and we'll talk about all aspects of that game and what the keys to the games are and all that stuff. But yeah, until then, we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Patriots Drive podcast. Follow us on social media to stay up to date with all things New England Patriots. Make sure you tune in to the next episode and check out patriotsdrive.com for more great content.
We're on to Cincinnati.